Finally, the international break is over and the Premier League is back, meaning we're back with another edition of Heroes and Villains. So without further ado, let's get going with our first hero. Kicking off this week with the heroes, we've got Kevin De Bruyne. While the talking point from Man City Liverpool was the Mane red card, which we'll get onto later, the real star performer was Kevin De Bruyne. Everything good about Man City went through the Belgian. He was sending defenders for hot dogs, making passes through the tightest of gaps, and enforcing Guardiola's infamous 5-second squeeze. For me, De Bruyne is the best player in the Premier League, and when he's on it, Man City are a terrifying prospect, with the midfielder constantly supplying the goal-thirsty forwards Aguero and Jesus with chances. Over to the villains now, and we've got the Sadio Mane red card. The biggest talking point of the weekend, and it's easy to see both sides of the argument. Personally, it wasn't a red card. Mane was entitled to go for the ball because if he gets it, he's in on goal. It was just an unfortunate collision made worse by Edison having to be stretchered off. This endangering an opponent buzzword isn't going to wash, because any challenge can endanger an opponent. It's a contact sport for goodness sake. Then on Sunday there was the Matt Ritchie incident, in which a similar event occurred, with the Newcastle man catching Alfie Mawson in the arm after lunging for a long ball, picking up a booking in the process. And nothing clashed that became another talking point just because of Mane's red a day earlier. The rules are unclear and inconsistent, and a video referee isn't going to change that. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments below, as there's no right or wrong answer to this. Back to the positives though, and we've got Pascal Gross. The German made history on Saturday, scoring Brighton's first ever Premier League goal. Okay, it was hardly a vintage strike that'll win goal of the month, but it's got Chris Hughton's season up and running, and Gross would make more history that day, becoming the first Brighton player to score 2 Premier League goals in one match, with the second a much prettier strike, a lovely finish from distance. Then on top of that, the summer signing provided the assist for Tom Ahmed's goal and Brighton's third, capping off a near perfect day for the Seagulls. So well done to Pascal Gross, and well done to any of you who had him in their fantasy teams. Another villain now, and it's Bournemouth. The Cherries had a good summer window with the players they brought in, but it's just not clicking at the start of the season for them, with their 3-0 defeat to Arsenal making it 4 losses on the bounce. Admittedly, 2 of those were against big hitters Arsenal and Man City, but Eddie Howe would have been expecting to have something to show for his side's opening 4 games. The young gaffer wasn't too happy after the 3-0 defeat, and he'll be praying things turn a corner when they play Brighton on Friday night, otherwise it's a serious case of third season syndrome, which I don't think is a thing. Back to the heroes, and it's Eric Maxim CHOUPO-MOTING. Christ, that's a mouthful. What a way to get off the mark in the Premier League, bagging a brace against the leaders Manchester United and become the first player to score past the Super David De Gea this season. The Cameroon international hasn't been that consistent a goal scorer during his career, which is why his arrival wasn't met with such hysteria, but Potters fans will be hoping this is the start of a good season for the pacey forward, and if not, he'll always have those 2 goals against Man United to tell the grandkids about. We're going to continue with the heroes now with Harry Kane. Sure, his first goal of the weekend was a fluke, but Harry Kane has now scored 101 goals for Tottenham, bagging a brace at Goodison Park on Saturday. Now that August is over, it was no surprise that Kane found himself on the score sheet. With 80 of his goals coming in the Premier League, the England striker only needs another 180 to equal Alan Shearer's record. No pressure there then. A hat-trick of heroes now, and it's Watford. Raise your hand if you saw this start of the season coming for the Hornets. Put your hand down and stop lying, because most people would have been lining Watford up for a relegation battle. But under Marco Silva they looked the real deal, picking up a 2-0 win away to Southampton to continue their undefeated start of the season. Next week is a real test for them, as Watford could come crashing back down to earth as they face Manchester City, but Marco Silva has to be buzzing with his start at Vicarage Road, as he continues to look like a cross between Colin Farrell and Adam Richman. On to Sunday, and our next villain is Renato Sanchez. Well, what a debut that was. All anyone wanted to talk about in Swansea was the arrival of Renato Sanchez, as if he was the second coming or something like that, ready to guide the Swans up the Premier League table. Instead, the Portuguese midfielder was constantly sloppy in possession, severely off the pace, and got away with a kick to the gentleman's area of Hosselu, which was a little bit naughty. Sanchez will hopefully pick up in a few weeks' time, but right now he is merely just hype. Our final hero of the week is Jamal Lascelles. Staying in Wales, the Newcastle captain had a real day to remember at the Liberty Stadium. The centre-half headed home the winner for the Magpies, having incredibly stopped them from conceding at the other end earlier in the game, racing back to save Tammy Abraham's goal-bound effort after he rounded the keeper. Lascelles was a giant at the back and rightfully named man of the match, the perfect tonic for Rafa Benitez, who had to miss the game as he recovers from surgery. Our penultimate villain of the week is Lee Chung-Yong. The South Korean midfielder has basically cost Frank de Boer his job. The only goal of the game at Turf Moor came from a ridiculous back pass from Lee, who picked the ball up in the Burnley half before decided to try and send it home to Wayne Hennessy, only for Burnley striker Chris Wood to intercept and finish brilliantly past the despairing Welshman. Palace didn't actually play that bad and were unlucky to leave empty-handed, showing signs they were improving under De Boer. But alas, it was a fourth consecutive defeat and now De Boer is gone. I hope you're happy with yourself, Lee. And our final villain this week is Steve Parish. 4 games, 360 minutes of Premier League football. That's all Frank De Boer got. 4 games. Yeah, they've got 0 points and are yet to score a goal, but the poor bloke hasn't even had a chance to get himself accustomed to life in England. It shows how much of a farce the English game is becoming that a manager of Frank De Boer's calibre can lose his job after only 4 games. And now Palace are getting Roy Hodgson in charge to do exactly what Tony Pulis and Sam Allardyce did, make the Eagles hard to beat and narrowly avoid relegation. A shocking decision from Steve Parish as he continues to show how bad an owner he is. So those are this week's Premier League's heroes and villains. Let us know yours in the comments below and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.